God damn it. Did I not do the speed breaker? Hey Johns, how you doing? Welcome back. Today we're gonna check out the RTX mod for Most Wanted. You guys like ray tracing? If you actually get to this part, don't forget to set up the graphics like this. Everything off basically, the exception of, well, what do you see on screen? My first personal experience was it's better than the others that we've played so far. So upgrade incoming. So you guys ready for a first look at a ray traced cutscene? Dude, I see that so many times that the sun just shines through the level in mods for this game. This is not the first time. As always, work in progress. And let's see what they did. Hey guys, Kuru here. Check out Instant Gaming for cheap game keys. Click the link in the description below. I wonder if there's a fix for the sun when it's below ground, because that's how the developers did it, right? They just put the sun below the level in certain situations. Okay, holding 60 FPS already seems to be difficult. Well, it definitely looks like a metallic reflection, but I don't think it would be like my favorite paint of coat of paint. I do think though this is the best ray tracing mod for a Need for Speed game that I've seen yet. Dude, this corner still here. Wasn't fixed by ray tracing. I think in my personal opinion it's a bit too bright, like the entire image. You know what I always notice in the RTX mods? The darker scenes, like this one, they look better. It's usually when too much sun is at play that it seems to be overwhelmed. Let's take a look. The thing is, the cars look really like they're hovering. Now with the shadows below the car, like it doesn't really look like the car is touching the ground, if you ask me. In the menus I think it's 120. In gameplay, it's a maximum of 100. So yeah, don't. Okay, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why we should turn it off. What is the menu? What's that the texture filtering? God damn it, dude. My brain. Dude, once again, in these darker areas, it looks so much better. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as in underground ray tracing games. Like, if you drive in the dark areas of the game, the reflections look a lot more natural. It reminds you of Unreal Engine. In that case, I would add unoptimized Unreal Engine, though. The prototype build of the next-gen Most Wanted. I really hope that next-gen Most Wanted doesn't look like this. You can do a lot more with ray tracing. I love how some assets look super weird. Ooh, I'm curious how carbon looks. Actually, not too bad, huh? And now it really feels like the rain is just above the car. You know, while I'm okay with, you know, experimenting and trying out new things, the number one issue for me would be the super low frame rate. Like, you can't even hold 60 FPS. And honestly, don't think you would get much more performance out of a 4090 either. I feel like I would wanna try to get the blacklist cars. Whoa, the tunnels are extremely dark. I feel like I broke the window of my car. I don't really see the rear window of my car anymore. It looks absolute see-through. Dude, I actually heard it so many times that people are like, oh, Unreal Engine look, the look of the Unreal Engine. You know what that translates to for me personally? A game that is too bright. That is how I see most of the Unreal Engine games. That the default brightness setting is too high. I mean, the good thing about the Unreal Engine is simply that, you know, you can use it for a very low cost, right? I think you give like 5% of your proceeds, like of your earnings, to the Unreal makers. Like, I understand why indie developers use it. Because you're not gonna be coding your own engine if you just make your first game, right? And not even EA does that anymore, right? Like, the Need for Speed games used to be built in their own engine. Now everything uses Frostbite. Still have to get used to the look of Most Wanted, man. Rockport is not how I remember it. Yeah, I also think it looks pretty good. In comparison to the other ray tracing mods, this one actually looks decent. RTX does remove some of the lighting, yeah. You're gonna be noticing a lot of lights missing. It's funny, without the lights, they kind of blend into the traffic cars. There's been more than one situations where I didn't recognize it as a cop car. It's not intentional and will be added later if they continue the project. You know, it wouldn't be the first project that just gets dropped, right? Anything you do takes time, and sometimes people run out of patience. And projects like this, you know, might disappear. Now people can finally shut up about the Most Wanted Remaster. Yay! Dude, the rear window is non-existent. On the front you can clearly see the window, on the rear it's just missing.
How's your car running?
Like, there's no reflection on the rear window. This big loose car, always this thick. What is up with the reflections? Like, it looks like you look at an object that is in water, because it's in a completely wrong spot and it's deformed. You know what I mean, right? Like, you hold your legs on the water and then they look really short. Oh, other body parts. Copium. 2D texture RTX mode. Now it's probably calculating how the light breaks on the window, but it just looks really fucked. And it's not correct in the situation. You know what it does? It calculates the light breaking into another object, like light into water. I don't know if you ever heard that in physics in school, you know, how the light gets refracted in a medium like water. That's exactly what it looks like. I thought so too, like the ray tracing mode for this one looks a lot more advanced than the ones for Underground. Truck! Oh, I just realized these are see-through now. How did I not notice that earlier? That these have become see-through. Underground 2 RTX was a fucking mess. I'm not sure, what was more a mess, Underground 1 or 2? Underground 2 had all matte cars, right? I think that was pretty bad. But I noticed that the fences are a lot denser. It's harder to see through them. The graphics remind you of GTA 4. GTA 4 was a lot more washed out. Like, I would even call it like a white and grey looking game. Like a bunch of shades of grey, really. That's how I would describe the graphics of GTA 4. Oh wow, you actually can't see through the glass. I don't even think this is shitty. It's early, but it actually looks, I think this is the best looking RTX mod so far. Maybe because it's during daylight, the tunnels are shitty. Like, if something is shitty, it would be the tunnels. The thing is, I very often would organize myself based on the lights. You know, if they don't have lights, they're dead. But now none of them have lights. So it's a bit harder to know if they're still chasing you or not. It looks like one of the unfinished remasters that I get nowadays. Yeah. But think about it like this. This is free in comparison to the GTA remaster. Link to the mod. You have to join my Discord. It's too long. The guide to install it is just too complicated. It actually runs better than the other RTX mods. Like, it's not using DLSS, which makes the game look way better. Like, this one is way better optimized than the last one that we played. It's funny, you're the second person that says it looks like GTA 4. I guess it's this particular light setting. It also has the same performance level like GTA 4 on a PC. Sure. Oh wow, the light of the chopper. Hey, that's cool though. I mean, he basically has a sun mounted on his chopper, but this is cool. This actually looks really impressive. That's one of the much better looking effects. The chopper's light cone was really exhausting. Whoa, holy moly. Who was that? You can't see through the barrier properly anymore. I mean, the only issue with, you know, the ray tracing tools, like, those games were never meant to use it. Definitely is gonna give you a different look, but not everyone likes it, right? This mod can copy the original lighting, but with the RTX mod will it be better? I don't think this is how it works. As far as I know, it places its own light sources and then actually renders the according shadows for it. Which is why if you go into a tunnel it gets really dark, because they didn't place too many light sources. This is actually one of the better looking tunnels. There's some other tunnels that are completely dark. How to upgrade Most Wanted undercover? Just use ray tracing. Word. Easy prison. Doesn't matter if RTX is on or off, prison is always the same. prison never changes. I'd love to talk to the guy that actually made the mod for this game. Man, what the fuck did they do with this tunnel? Like, what are these lights, man? At least there's no shitty transition between dark and light, like modern games do. You're basically completely blind going into a tunnel and flashbang when you get out of it again. That effect is the worst effect in video game history. It does not excite me, it just looks like ass. You know, Most Wanted looks so normal without the light effects during the nitrous or just the flames just spitting out of the car more intensely. I miss it, I miss the effect, dude. Oxa, I have to agree, like, there needs to be more work done to make this look like a coherent experience. You can clearly tell they slapped ray tracing on Most Wanted. For now. Because it does require a lot of work to, you know, optimize this. At the same time, yeah, it's not optimal yet, but I think of all the ray tracing mods for Need for Speed games, this is the best looking one. And think about it, Unbound doesn't have ray tracing. I wonder how hard that is to implement. Especially, you have the consoles and the PCs supporting ray tracing now. Like, I can't imagine that there's too many people out there that can play modern games, but they don't have ray tracing. You know, after meeting the Criterion guys, I get a better understanding of game development in the sense that, you know, they have time and resources, right? They only have so much money and they only have so much time and so many people working on the game. So they have to prioritize. You know, if a game isn't as good as you expected it to be, it's because they mismanaged their priorities. Which is a very clear thing that happened with Unbound. You know, that they listen to our feedback and also the, you know, general feedback that they're gathering from all the players and incorporate that in the upcoming updates, but also in the next game. Management is always the issue. I mean, I will give that a very big portion of the responsibility. But you know, sometimes you just have bumps. Like if you think that any game studio doesn't have at least 1 or 2 bumps that are not really pulling down weight. I mean, to be fair, I haven't seen any when I was at Criterion. That doesn't mean that person doesn't exist, right? And it doesn't matter which company we're talking about. If you have too many bumps in there, like the product is not going to be good, right? I think time, money, and skills in development would be enough. People in time, meaning corporate branches. So one thing that they basically said, they have a lot more freedom now that Unbound has flopped. You know, like even the EA management was surprised that Unbound sold as little as it did. So the result from that epiphany is basically, okay, let the developers make the decisions. Let's not force decisions onto the developers, but let them do their thing. Which is gonna be primarily noticeable with the upcoming updates, right? Like we're getting drag racing and drifting in the style of Underground, and that was obviously not planned for Unbound ever. Pretty strange coming from EA. I mean, at the end of the day, if the manager has half a brain and he realizes, okay, what I did so far didn't work, maybe I should try something else. It's funny, like I actually called Unbound has the potential to flop when the leaks were coming out, because I was like, this is not really fitting what people want. This is kind of, it sounds weird. Like all the information that revolved around Unbound just sounded weird. And you could feel the community like having the same sentiment. This looks way better than the first time it popped up. Yeah, true. I think it was about a year ago, the first time we saw ray tracing for this game. Looks a lot better now. Yeah, the textures feel like they're from a Nintendo 64 game. Right? Have you ever... How many people in here played some Nintendo 64 games? Like, those are some grade A Nintendo 64 textures. Does this mod make me appreciate graphical optimization in new games? I mean, generally optimizations, because it's so weird. You have a 240Hz monitor and the game can barely reach 100. Like, I have all this real estate for frames, but I can't use it. So yeah, optimization is a big thing. Like, I always cared for frame rate a lot more than for the maximum graphic settings. It's so rare that the graphical settings blow me away, that I was like, yeah, just give me more FPS. Like, that has much more of an impact to my experience. At least bad looking. I mean, while that is still true, I wouldn't really, you know, look at this mod and be like, man, I hate how this looks, you know? In some situations, sure, but You know, in comparison to the underground ray tracing mods, this has looked better overall. There were more moments where I was like, yeah, this looks kind of cool, I like it. But the game itself shouldn't change, so all of this out of bounds stuff should still work. But, oh man, it might be a lot harder to perform. The reflections and the textures might be looking quite different. Let's see. Oh my god, I don't see shit. You ready for the final ray traced cutscene? I think. God damn it. Did I not do the speed breaker? Oh wow. I know. Do you remember how dark this car is in the regular version of the game? Oh wow, it looks like a toy. It looks like a Hot Wheels car. Oh, I think the reflections on that car look pretty good.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Janima, thanks for 53 months. GG world record. Have a good night, guys. Sleep well, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Money that I don't accept. Something like this.